Going for two live, it's your boy here, Dan at the B League Says, coming at you with another B League Says on the clock show. It's a quick 5-minute hit instead of having to watch me do an hour-long draft and bang on for like all that time talking absolute nonsense. We get just to get the nitty-gritty, talk about players that I like to look for when I'm on the clock. And before I get going, I'm going to tell you who that is, but I want to make sure that everyone knows about our free Discord. Come check us out over there, Going for Two Live over on Discord. It's free. It's a fantastic place to be. Ask everyone your questions, get all the right answers. And of course, underdogfantasy.com, promo code GF2 for 100% matching deposit up to 250 big ones. Put 250 down, get 500 back, $500 to put on what, 100 puppy teams, or what, 10 different BBM teams. It's a fantastic way to make some good hard cash, and it should be something you're looking at doing as well. Today's episode, I'm going to look at the tight end position and someone that I'm looking for when I'm on the clock. Not because I have to or need to or want to, but I feel like it's someone that we should be looking at because the situation and ADP matches up very, very nicely. It's going to be tight end for the New York Jets, Tyler Conklin. Pre-draft exposure, I didn't have anything of him because all those tight ends were going late and I didn't really get in the mix with him. That's fine. But post-draft exposure, I'm running at about 23%. He's one of my highest owned players post-draft. I tend to not go over 30% in any form of exposure. I try not to, at least post-draft. Pre-draft, you get a lot of value, but post-draft, I haven't gone over 30% on anyone, I don't think. Look, last year, finished tight end 20 overall in half PPR, tight end 25 in points per game, but that's with a mix of like backup shithouse quarterbacks that you don't ever want to look at again. He now gets Aaron Rodgers. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. His stat line for me projected is 69, 47, 465, and 5 touchdowns. That's 100 points in half PPR. That's nothing mind-blowing. But we're looking for spike games. Plus, we're talking about 5 touchdowns, which we really want from a tight end. Hopefully, those are some explosive games. Again, 174th in ADP, 17th, 18th round. You can get him 15th round if you're really, really shocking at this. But it is what it is. Look, I'm going to keep this as simple as I can. I'm stupid high on Aaron Rodgers this year. I have Aaron Rodgers this year in my projections as my quarterback 6. I have him going off. And as a result, and we talk about tides and boats and shrimp and barnacles, everything rises up. Conklin is that barnacle for you this year. Is an intriguing stack with Aaron Rodgers late. Aaron Rodgers, you can get around that 14th round. We're talking about Conklin from the 16th on. So that's a way that we can look at him being a very, very cheap piece of a very explosive offense going forward in 2024. And you know, that's in a position that's somewhat bled dry after the 7th round. You look at what Evan Ingram in the 6th, 7th round, and then after that, it's guys like Jake Ferguson, Cole Kmet, Dalton Schultz. I mean, Tyler Conklin may as well just another one of those guys at a 7-round discount. So for me, you can hit on him late if you're going with Hall or Wilson early, or Williams or Corley as well. He's a nice piece to a puzzle. He's the only player at his position. I feel like that's something that we can look at to exploit a position that nobody really wants to touch. My second point, I want to say this very, very easily. The Jags, the Rams, and the Bills, fuck yeah, that's who they get in the fantasy playoffs. And I want to tell you, as daunting as that might be, it's very, very good for us. Look, we're looking at 3 explosive games in the fantasy football playoffs. The Rams and Jags last year in 2023 were bottom 5 in points allowed to the position. That's something that not a lot of people have gone back and checked, but they were. The Rams in particular struggled. Their whole defense struggled. I understand that. They gave up a lot of points per game, but they struggled to the tight end last year. The Jags as well. They always seem to retool and they get worse. It is what it is. So that's something that we can look at as well. Don't be afraid of that Buffalo game in week 17 too much. It's not ideal. However, I believe 8 of their last games, 6 of their last 8 games have gone over 40 points at Buffalo. So of their last, it's going to come out in another episode later. I talk about Aaron Rodgers. You'll find out all about that later. It's irrelevant right now. Look, in his first year as a Jet, I also want to make this point clear. He set a career high in yards. First time he went over 600 yards, and that's kind of crazy because of how bad the Jets were. He kind of actually had a decent year. He matched his career highs in targets and receptions as well. Speaking of targets, he was the 13th most targeted tight end in 2023, which you wouldn't really think of being a big deal, but I just want to put it to you like this. This hasn't happened to you like he's never recorded 0 touchdowns before. That's not happened since 2019. It's the first time he's done it since then. And he had that with the 13th most targets. So you think that regression or your regression suckers, that's going to come up. He was in the same range for targets as Dalton Schultz, Dalton Kincaid, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts. In that, you're talking about those 4 guys. He was in the same range, that 80 to 90 range. And not a lot of people were around there. He's there with the elite guys getting targets, same volume. Set a career high in yards. First time he hasn't had a touchdown since 2019. So there's a lot there to work with in that regard. The Jets, I just want to make this clear as well, talking about the Jets. They're one of 11 teams with over 600 pass attempts. That's That's a lot. It's top third of that. Yet finished in 18th for receptions, 30th for pass yards. They were under 3,000 yards passing, and yet they had the 11th most pass attempts. That's kind of wild when you think about it. And dead last for passing touchdowns last year with 11. They had 11 passing touchdowns for the year. So you think Conklin had it rough. They all had it rough. So for what it's worth, and I just want to mention this about Aaron Rodgers, he's never thrown less for 25 touchdowns and 3,600, nearly 3,700 yards. He's at 3,690, I think, was his lowest when he's played at least 15 games. So we're talking about a team that is going to come up very, very quickly, very, very aggressively. So Tyler Conklin, we're looking at his ADP at a terrible position. He set a career high in markers last year. The only thing he didn't really get is a couple touchdowns. Had he had 2 or 3 touchdowns, he would have finished as the tight end 13-14, and no one would be talking about this. So it is what it is. Either way, my name's Dan. I am at the B-League Says. Come find me over in our free Discord, Going for 2 Live, or underdogfantasy.com, promo code GF2 for a 100% matching deposit up to $250 on your initial outlay. Come join me. Cheers. Thanks. Have a great day. Safe bets, happy punts, all that sort of